Say goodbye to SUMIFS and filter. Meet the dsum function. It gives you the same power with far less complexity. Let's jump in. First, understanding dsum, database functions. Now let's continue with the database functions family. dsum, which is incredibly useful when you want to add up multiple records based on a condition. Let's take a look. This time, instead of finding a single match, we want to calculate the total sales for the country Canada. To do that, we start by typing equals dsum. For the database, we select the entire table. For the field, we choose sales, since that's what we want to total. And for the criteria, we specify country equals Canada, using the criteria range we've already set up. Once we close the parenthesis and press enter, Excel instantly returns the sum of all sales transactions for Canada. Just select the range. Excel shows the sum below, 361,500. And this is just one example. The database functions don't stop at dsum. We also have daverage, to calculate the average transaction value dcount, to count records dproduct, to multiply values, and several other powerful database functions. So if you're working with structured tables and need fast, criteria-based calculations, these database functions are absolutely worth learning. Next, single criteria, basic use case. In this first and simplest scenario, we're working with a sales table. You can download this Excel file for free using the link in the video description and follow along. Now let's say we want to filter only monitor records and calculate the total quantity sold using the filter tool, the traditional way. We could turn on filter, open the product drop-down, select click OK. Once filtered, Excel shows a total of 410 at the bottom. But here's the problem. If we use the sum function, Excel still includes hidden rows, so the result is incorrect. Using dsum, the smarter way. Now let's do this properly using dsum. We type equals dsum database, select the entire table field, select the unit's header criteria, product equals monitor. We close the parenthesis and press enter. And just like that, Excel returns 410, the correct total, without filtering anything manually. Why this matters? No filters, no hidden rows, no incorrect totals, fully dynamic and formula-driven. And that's just the first example. Things get much more interesting in the next examples. Next, multiple criteria, where dsum really shines. Let me show you where dsum works even better, when you're dealing with multiple criteria. In this example, we want to calculate the total quantity where the product is laptop, the country is France, and the quantity is greater than 150. Doing this with filters can get messy, so you might think of using SUMIFS. And yes, that works. Using SUMIFS. Summing the units column. The first criteria is the product. It must be laptop. Next, the second criteria is country. It has to be France. And the third condition is quantity, only values greater than 150. Close the parenthesis and press enter, and that gives us the result. But notice how long and complex the formula becomes. Now let's use dsum. With dsum, the process is much simpler. The database is the entire table. The field is quantity, and for the criteria, we simply select all three conditions at once. Press enter, and we get the exact same answer, with a much cleaner formula. Why dsum is better here. Here's the real advantage. If you want to remove or change a condition, with dsum, you only adjust the criteria range. But with SUMIFS, you have to delete the criteria range, delete the condition. Carefully update the formula structure. That's more work and more room for errors. Quick note, if you haven't watched our dget video yet, it's worth checking out. Dget can replace VLOOKUP, index match, and even XLOOKUP. Keep watching this video for now. Watch that one next. Link in the description. Next. Or condition with dsum. Here you can see that we're no longer using just a single filter. This time, we have multiple criteria. Country equals France, or USA, or Canada. And based on these conditions, we want to calculate the total units. Using dsum with OR logic. We start by typing equals dsum. The database is the entire table. The field we want to sum is units. And for the criteria, we simply extend the criteria range to include all 3 countries. Once we press enter, Excel returns the correct total quantity for France, USA, or Canada. Why this is so powerful? Even though we added more conditions, the formula itself didn't get any more complex. If we tried doing this with SUMIFS or filter, the formula would quickly become longer, harder to read, more difficult to maintain. With dsum, or logic is handled directly inside the criteria range. Next, example. Criteria date range, dsum between 2 dates. Now let's look at how to filter data between a date range using the dsum function. The scenario we have: a start date, 14th February, an end date, 28th March. A product, laptop. Our goal is simple. Sum the quantity only if the product is laptop, and the sale date falls within this date range. Using dsum, we start by typing equals dsum. Database. Select the entire table field. Choose units criteria. Select the criteria range that includes product equals laptop date greater than or equal to start date, date less than or equal to end date. Now we close the parenthesis and press enter. And just like that, Excel returns the correct total quantity. Why this works: dsum automatically applies. And logic across columns, range logic for dates, so only rows that meet all conditions are included. In our case, Excel finds that only one record matches: laptop between the 14th and 28th of March. That's why the result is 160. Dynamic table advantage now. Let's add a new row to the data. We paste a new transaction, change the quantity to 500. Because this data is stored in an Excel table, created using Ctrl+T, updates automatically. No range edits, no formula changes. It just works. dsum is excellent for date range filtering, works perfectly with multiple criteria, becomes fully dynamic when used with Excel tables. Next, other database functions, daverage, average with criteria. First up is daverage. As the name suggests, this function calculates the average value based on a specific set of conditions. Here's how it works. The database is our entire table. The field is units. Because that's what we want to analyze, the criteria define which rows should be included. Once we press enter, Excel returns the average units for only the filtered records. Dcount, count with criteria. Next is dcount. This works almost identically. We select the same database, choose units as in the field, use the same criteria range. After pressing enter, Excel returns a count of matching records. In this case, 2. Why database functions are so powerful. The best part about database functions is their consistency. Every function follows the same pattern: database, field, criteria. So once you understand one database function, you can easily use all of them. Next, wildcards with dsum, aggregate made easy. Now let's talk about wildcards. In this example, we want to aggregate all data where the names begin with the letter J. That means J. To do this, we use the dsum function. We start by typing equals dsum. For the database, we select the entire table, including the headers. For the field argument, the sales column is. For the criteria, we reference the criteria range where we've written J Wildcards. Now we close the parentheses and press enter. And instantly, Excel returns $609,900, the total of all records where the month starts with J. If we replace the criteria from J to F in the month column, dsum will start calculating sales from February. This column number approach works not only in dsum, but also in other database functions like dget, daverage, dcount. And that's how dsum gives you a cleaner, smarter alternative to SUMIFS and filter. No complexity, just results. dsum done. Next step, dget. It can replace VLOOKUP, index match, and XLOOKUP. Click the video on screen to watch it next. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more tutorials.